What's up, everybody? My name's Scott, and behind me is my 1991 Mazda Miata. So I just picked this car up. This is going to be the donor for the low cost. I got a pretty good deal on it for today's money because the roof was crushed in by a tree, so the car's basically totaled. And today I'm going to hopefully put a timing belt on, start this thing up, rip it around the neighborhood a couple times to make sure everything works, and then I'll pull it back in here and start disassembling it. When the tree hit the car, it smashed down the rear quarter panel and it cracked the battery. So there's a small crack down the side of the battery. Most of the water and acid is still in the battery, so I'm going to try to use this Harbor Freight plastic welder to repair this battery, basically, so I don't have to go spend $100 on a battery right now. The whole premise behind low cost is that you buy one of these cars and use absolutely every single component off of the car that you can. That way it keeps your build cost as low as possible. So first step is going to be to try to repair this battery. So the way these work, if you're not familiar with them, it's just a hot iron. You melt the plastic and then you use a piece of filler plastic and just kind of repair the crack. I'm not expecting this to be a long-term repair. I just don't want to spend the $100 right now. So I have this stuff on hand, so I might as well give it a try. Put some of the filler in and you just kind of smear it over, but it's for a repair, just to keep this thing from leaking. Right now, this is a really good way for me to save some money. Alright, so there it is. I got the battery charger to kick on. It says it's at 62%, which I know is wrong, and it says the voltage is 17. So this charger has some different features built in. It's got I think it's got what they call like a desulfate thing built in, where it can kind of detect some things within the battery and run some different profiles. But so I just used a boost pack, and basically you put the boost pack on there, the charger will see some voltage and then it'll kick it on. The next thing I want to address is the timing belt. Like I said, I already pulled off all the plastic covers and got everything ready to accept the timing belt. The motor, the crank down here is set up at top dead center. There's a little indicating knob right there and a little thing underneath it to line that up. The cams are aligned with this E notch vertical on the exhaust cam and the I notch vertical on the intake cam. And then down here, it's hard to get the angle, but when you sight perfectly level across that, the E on this notch should match the little bump in the thing here, and then the I notch on this one should match the little bump down here. So this probably could be a little more like that, which I will adjust as I put the belt on. So when you're putting a timing belt on, the most important thing to remember is the engine rotation direction, and that the belt needs to be tight on the side where the crank is pulling it. So the way you tell that is by what side the tensioner is on, and usually facing the motor. Most motors, as you're facing them, will turn clockwise, which means the tensioner is always on the left side, but that's just like inline 4-cylinders. Other engines may be different. So when you route this belt, you route it around this side, over the exhaust, then the intake, with all the slack over by the tensioner.
Unfortunately, I didn't get very much video of installing the timing belt. It was very cold in the garage, and it causes my video camera batteries to die, so I was constantly dealing with the camera shutting off on me. It took me probably 10 minutes to get the timing belt installed. And this is the first timing belt I've ever done. I've done a timing chain, but this on a single overhead cam, but this was the first time I ever did a dual overhead cam engine like this. So 10 minutes, not too bad. And that's just to get the belt on the gears.
So from what I can tell, that's on correct. That's aligned, and this is mostly aligned. So there's a lot of people that complain online about this intake cam getting the alignment marks lined up. I think part of that is maybe the belt stretch. When it's fresh, it looks kind of weird, but as this belt stretches a little, you know, this cam gear is going to fall a little behind the other one, and that would put it precisely on. One of the tricks they tell you can do is you can count the number of teeth between the two marks, and it's supposed to be 19. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So between the bottom mark, this mark, 19 teeth, and this looking like it's darn near vertical, I'm going to say that that timing belt's installed correctly. The only other thing I want to do is rotate this engine around, because you're supposed to, it should take up some of this slack. So let's see if some of that slack gets taken up, because I think there's a little more in there than it's supposed to be. As far as putting this thing back together, basically work from the bottom up, installing the covers and putting all the stuff back on. I'm not doing any of the gaskets or the water pump or any of that stuff. This was basically put a belt on, make sure the engine runs, because I'm basically going to turn right around and take it all apart. So I just needed some level of assurance that everything worked. So I'll bring you back once everything's put together. I've got all the intake and the timing stuff put back on the car. All the coolant lines are hooked back up. This is where things get a little complicated, because when I bought this car, it was already partially taken apart. I've got a bucket of bolts here. I've got one timing cover bolt that I cannot find, and I have one extra bolt that I don't remember where it goes. So as far as I can tell, this must just hold a bracket or something. I don't know. I can't remember where it came from. And then I've got to figure out all these. When I put the valve cover back on, I've got to hook up all the plug wires and any connectors that are pulled apart, but I'm getting very close now. So everything's back on. It was pretty straightforward. All the valve cover bolts were there. There's two rusty bolts that hold the coil packs on. I can't put these in. They're so rusty. I'm going to have to source new ones. And all right, I got a set of jumper cables hooked up to my wife's 4Runner, so that should have plenty of power to turn over this little car. So let's give it another shot. Alright, I think we got juice now. Alright, clutch in, brake in. Runs. I don't know why it's surging like that. I wasn't actuating the throttle at all. So hopefully something's not really screwed up. But at least it runs, because when I bought it, it didn't run at all. So
this project's all about highs and lows. This night it was, you know, pretty high note getting this thing fired up, but that surging, a little frustrating. You know, these early 90s fuel injection systems can be very difficult to troubleshoot. They don't have an OBD port. It's just a diagnostic port. So this is going to be it for this video. And then a part 2 will be coming out soon. Please like, comment, and subscribe.